Good evening, good evening. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to a brand new live episode of Carolina Panthers Talk brought to you by Blitzball Champ Gaming here on the U to the Tube. I'm your host for this evening, Blitzball Champ Jason Ingram. So good to be back on here. It's been a while. I missed y'all. Been traveling quite a bit within the past week or so. So I know y'all haven't seen too much of me lately. I've been all over the place. I've been in Ohio. I've been in Kansas. I've been in Missouri, New York. I've been doing quite a bit of traveling lately. So yeah, finally, I'm back home here in North Carolina, and it's good to be back. Pretty exhausted from all the traveling. Got back late, but thankfully, to God be the glory, kept me safe through all the traveling and brought me and my friends back home safely. So very, very thankful for that. Anyway, like I said, it's good to be back on here. I hope everybody's been having a good week, especially the previous week. Hope everybody's been doing well, staying safe, staying productive, staying positive. I know a lot's been going on, but have to continue to keep each other lifted up and staying strong, being a positive impact. But good to be back on here. So tonight I wanted to wrap for a bit on Carolina Panthers. I noticed that Carolina Panthers are at the dead bottom of the power rankings. So, not a good look. Quarterback situation is still up in the air. And the Panthers still have about a good 25 to 30, I think somebody even said 31 million left in cap space. What should they do with it? We're going to talk about it. Joe Valesco, welcome. Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Says Nick Foles just signed with the Colts. Yes, I did see that indeed. Let's talk about that a little bit. So, quarterback options, got a little bit lower as, yes, Joe Valesco confirmed Nick Foles signed with the Indianapolis Colts, which I think is pretty interesting considering they just they got Matt Ryan on there. So they got Matt Ryan and Nick Foles on there. That's quite a combo. But yeah, Colts picked up Nick Foles. I wonder if they have the details on his deal. And of course, they also released quarterback James Morgan in the midst of that. Okay, so it's a 2-year contract. The terms weren't disclosed, but Nick Foles got a 2-year contract with the Indianapolis Colts. So they got a lineup of Sam Eglinger, who was a rookie couple of seasons ago. And they just got Nick Foles and Matt Ryan. Dang, that's quite a list of – that's quite a quarterback trio there. Definitely looks a lot better than what the Carolina Panthers currently have, which is what I want to kind of usher into. So, quarterback situation. Gotta bring that back up again. What I'm thinking is happening is right now, Carolina Panthers are waiting on what happens with the whole Deshaun Watson situation. Because, as most of y'all know, first game of the Carolina Panthers' upcoming season will be against the Cleveland Browns. Thing is, we don't know if Deshaun Watson will be starting that game or if he'll be suspended and Baker Mayfield may have to step in. It's very possible. So I believe one thing that's going to happen is I believe the Carolina Panthers are playing the waiting game on the idea of possibly going after Baker Mayfield, seeing what happens with the whole Deshaun Watson situation. Because, like I said, he might get suspended for a number of games. So that's something that going to have to wait to see what happens. But the thing is, we got to be honest with ourselves. Our squad of quarterbacks, we can't say is really impressive. And I think it's safe to say that, a lot of people aren't really happy about it. Because, I mean, we have to look at who we have. PJ Walker, Sam Darnold, Matt Corral, which, is who we drafted. We drafted Matt Corral. And there was another guy we got, Davis Cheek from Elon. I mean, right now they're looked at as the bottom of the barrel of quarterback combos in the NFL. So, I mean, while the organization did some upgrading, especially on the offensive line, quarterback situation isn't exactly cleared up. Yes, they drafted Matt Corral. But we have to wonder to ourselves, is there way too much pressure from the fans being put on Matt Corral to, quote unquote, save this team, especially this offense? Because there's a lot of hope lost in Sam Darnold. Despite the upgrades, there's a lot of hope lost in Sam Darnold. But at the same time, there's a lot of discussions about how there's a lot of desire to not go after a Baker Mayfield, a Jimmy Garoppolo. And like I said, Nick Foles is out of the picture and not going after a Cam Newton. So, I mean, I think overall as fans, we have to come to some sort of compromise on what would be best for this team, given the scenario that this organization is in. A lot of people are frustrated, especially with Matt Rule. A lot of people are saying that Matt Rule is on the hot seat. And with that being said, the idea of getting a veteran quarterback would sound reasonable to help their chances of doing well enough for Matt Rule to keep his job. Because right now, I think it's safe to say, I think it's clear that I would say a good 90% of the fans, of the Keep Pounding Nation, I would say about at least 90% believe that despite the upgrades, that Sam Darnold is still going to fail. That Sam Darnold is still going to be a bust, and that if Sam Darnold were to be the starting quarterback, it would equal another 5-win or less season. But at the same time, with Matt Corral, which, like I said, we have to remember, he's not guaranteed the starting position. Still has to play for it. Still has to fight for it. Is Matt Corral ready to help bring this franchise, to contribute to bring this franchise back into a better record and potentially a playoff appearance, something they haven't had since 2017? It's a lot of pressure. It's a whole lot of pressure, especially given the number of quarterbacks this organization has gone through since 2017. And then we have to look at the options of upgrading. Joe Velasco says he's not ready. which is a fair assessment. That's fair. After all, he's a rookie coming into his first year. And like I said, we don't even know if he'll start. We hope that he does well. We hope that he can break out, sure. But we don't know if he's going to start. That remains to be seen. I know there's a lot of desire out there for him to start just because, but is it because you feel that he can help this team, or is it because you just don't want to see Sam Darnold? So, Khalil Wesley, did you see the draft last month? Yeah, I did a live stream of it. Carolina Panthers had a great draft. One of their best, if you ask me. What did you think? Do you think it was one of their best? I think it was one of their best, for sure. But there's a lot of people not a fan of going after Baker Mayfield, although I still believe that he would be an upgrade over Sam Darnold. Jimmy Garoppolo, like I said, the big thing with him is his health and that shoulder. Cam Newton, I mean, we already know how a lot of folks feel about Cam Newton. Khalil Wesley says the Titans took Malik Willis, not us. That is correct. And the Steelers got Kenny Pickett. I was kind of surprised that Willis fell that low. And then again, you know, a lot of folks were surprised that Kenny Pickett fell all the way to the Steelers. Yukon Hannon, welcome back. Hashtag keep pounding. Thank you. It is good to be back, and it's good to see you. But yeah, Khalil Wesley, what did you think about Carolina drafting Matt Corral? What'd you think of that? I know we didn't get Kenny Pickett, but we got Matt Corral. What are your thoughts on that? But like I said, as fans, we have to come to some sort of compromise. Because, like I said, I think a big majority of the Keep Pounding Nation isn't too happy. Number one, isn't too happy about our core of quarterbacks. And second, there's a lot of pressure for Matt Corral to break out and pretty much save this offense. I mean, let's keep it real. There's a lot that want him to be successful. But at the same time, there's a lot of people that just flat out are hoping that Sam Darnold just doesn't play another snap so that he can play. You know, I can't say that I am totally on board with that because, you know, I'm open to anybody on my team that can bounce back and be successful, regardless of who it is. I'm going to support my team, no matter who's on that team. Khalil Wesley says, I think Corral needs some time to develop so he can be the future for us. Totally understandable. And I think that's what it's going to take. And, you know, when it comes down to it, if Sam Darnold doesn't do his part, then he's going to get an early start to show what he can do. But at the same time, it goes back to my earlier point. I feel that a lot of fans truly believe that even with the upgrades that Sam Darnold still can't get it done, even with the upgrades to the O-line and such, which, you know, we'll see. I mean, there is a lot that has changed with this draft and what's happened in free agency. You know, this won't exactly be the same team that Sam Darnold was on last season. There's some decent number of changes, especially coaching staff wise as well. Let's not forget about the coaching staff changes. But either two things has to happen. One of these two things has to happen. One, we just have to fully accept that we're not really in win now mode. And if that means, biting the bullet and riding things out with Sam and Matt, then so be it. Or two, if this team is really in win now mode, they're going to have to go out and get a veteran quarterback. Plain and simple as that. They're going to have to get an upgrade at quarterback to really show that they're in win now mode, especially if it's the idea that it's going to save Matt Rule's job. If, this is successful, they need to go out and get a veteran quarterback. Plain and simple as that. That is too much pressure on a rookie quarterback. And so far, Sam hasn't proven that he can be the guy that does it. Ekaim Hannon says, I think we are in win now mode. How? How exactly? I guess, let me ask you this. What specifically do you see that makes you feel that way? Because I really feel like if we're really in win now mode, we need an upgrade at quarterback. It has to be an upgrade at quarterback. There's got to be. But yeah, what do y'all think about that? Because I just really feel like that is very necessary for this offense to be complete and to really show even more improvement. Because we have to remember how bad we were on offense last season. And we had, a combination of Sam Darnold, some Cam Newton, a little bit of PJ Walker. So I really feel like if this team is in win now mode, they have to upgrade at quarterback. They have to. And in that being the case, we're going to have to bite the bullet, and it's going to have to come down to a choice like a Baker Mayfield, a Jimmy Garoppolo, a Cam Newton. And like I said, Nick Foles is out of the picture because he's signing a 2-year deal with the Colts. Khalil Wesley says Jimmy G is better than Mayfield. Here's the thing. We don't know what his health is going to be like because, the shoulder, he won't be ready to throw until August. That's kind of late because by the time of August, it'll be closing in on preseason. So, you're taking a chance. Our first preseason game is August 13th against the Commanders. All three of our preseason games are all in August. So, Jimmy G may be better statistically and just experience-wise, but his health, that shoulder, is still going to be a question because he won't be able to throw until August. So, Joe Valesco says the only good free agent quarterback left are Ryan Fitzpatrick and Cam Newton. But that's the thing. What about Baker Mayfield? Baker Mayfield, I know struggled last season, but Baker Mayfield was not too long ago in the playoffs and won a playoff game. So, and Baker Mayfield is definitely an upgrade over Sam Darnold. He may not be an upgrade over anybody else, but he's definitely an upgrade over Sam Darnold. Let's not kid ourselves. Ryan Fitzpatrick. I don't know about Fitz. How do y'all feel about Ryan Fitzpatrick? I don't know if that's somebody that I could take a chance on. Ryan Fitzpatrick's not really someone who I was thinking of, to be honest. Kyle Hannon says, if we get any of these quarterbacks, will we have to keep Sam? I mean, we're going to have to take a hit regardless of if we keep Sam or let him go, because he's still going to be owed that million. I mean, that's just going to have to be a hit that we take regardless. But I don't know about Fitz. I mean, he only played one game. He didn't really play much for the Commanders. And I mean, I just feel like we could go with a much better option than Fitz. Ryan Fitzpatrick. So I mean, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. But Fitzpatrick wasn't really who I was thinking. But I mean, I guess he would be available. But not who I would think. Khalil Wesley says, Mr. Hanton, forget Cam Newton. That ship has sailed away. I mean, you say that ship has sailed away, but the Carolina Panthers are still open to bringing him in, Khalil Wesley. I mean, the ship hasn't fully sailed away. If it was fully sailed away, the Carolina Panthers wouldn't be open to bringing him back. Let's just keep that in mind. I'm not saying that he is going to be brought back, but the Carolina Panthers are still open to bringing him back. Kyle Hannon says, if Coach Ron couldn't do anything with him, what's the point? And that's a good point as well. That's a good point as well. I mean, he only played one game, only had 3 completions, 13 yards, didn't really do anything, got sacked once. So yeah. But if you ask me, I feel like the top 3 candidates would have to be a Baker Mayfield, a Jimmy Garoppolo, or even a Cam Newton. But it's way too much pressure on Matt Corral to do this. And we already know how a ginormous majority of the fans feel about Sam Darnold. So, I mean, pick your poison, y'all. Pick your poison. So, I mean, but right now we're the bottom of the barrel in the power rankings and also in the core of quarterbacks. I'm just saying. Kyle Hannon says, I'd rather trust Cam than Jimmy or Baker. No, that's a fair point. And I mean, you know, my thing with Baker Mayfield is his attitude, and my thing with Jimmy Garoppolo is his health. I think the big thing with Cam, I don't even know if Cam even wants to work around a Matt Rule. Khalil Wesley says, can McAdoo fix Sam Darnold? That's a good question. That is a good question. I think he can make more of an impact compared to Joe Brady. That's for sure. I think he'll make more of an impact than Joe Brady did. But at the same time, we have to also keep in mind, shout out to Jeff R., there have been a handful of times where Sam Darnold had the protection, had the opening, but couldn't make the throw or threw a pick. So it also has to come down to Sam Darnold's decision making, because everything can be laid out for Sam Darnold, execution wise and such, but he still has to make the throw, has to make the right decision. Can Sam Darnold improve his decision making? But Khalil Wesley, that's a good question. Can McAdoo fix Sam Darnold? I mean, we definitely have a better offensive coordinator than Joe Brady. That's for sure. I mean, everybody can say what they want about Ben McAdoo, but he's clearly a better than Joe Brady. Let's keep it real. Joe Brady was never even a legit offensive coordinator, even in college. So at least McAdoo has the experience as an offensive coordinator and has had some success. Is Ben McAdoo the top high candidate for offensive coordinator? No, and I understand that. But he's definitely an upgrade over Joe Brady. Now, the cap space situation. Carolina has about 25, 30, 31 million in cap space. What should they do with it? What do y'all think they should do with that remaining cap space? I believe one of the things they can do is roll over into the next year, because I believe they're going to be taking a cap hit next year. So, what are y'all's thoughts on that? What do y'all think the Carolina Panthers organization should do with their remaining cap space? Because that's still a good amount of cap left that they can do something with. Kime Hannon says save for free agency. Okay. As in make another big move in free agency, or just like save it for a rainy day in free agency? And the thing is, if they do decide to go after Baker Mayfield, the money definitely has to be on point. Vietnam 26, good to see you. Welcome. I think that the national media picked us last because we don't have that big name at quarterback and head coach. Well, I think that's part of it. But we also have to factor a few things that, of course, happened last season as well. But I think I think definitely that may factor into it, Vietnam. So yeah, I can agree with that. I can agree with that being a factor. He comes in and says for a rainy day. Oh, gotcha. But I mean, we have the cap to do something. What they do with it still is up in the air. But I really strongly feel Khalil Wesley made some good points. Last year, our offensive line fell off the wagon. True. And our defensive line couldn't stop the runs. We fell apart. True. Yes, we struggled in stopping the run, and our O-line wasn't great. These are true. And I definitely believe that was what I was, saying also factors into our dead last power ranking. which, I mean, we can't really be surprised at that. Despite us not having the worst record, I can understand why we're at the bottom. But as I said before, I really feel like for this to be a win now, we got to upgrade quarterback. That's got to happen. Because that's way too much pressure on Matt Corral. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that Matt Corral can't have a great rookie year and make a positive impact on this team. I'm not saying that. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying that's a lot of pressure on a rookie quarterback given our last couple of seasons. You know what I mean? So it's tough. It's going to be really, really tough. I wanted us to go after Jadeveon Clowney, but he's resigning with the Browns, so he's out of the picture. Nick Foles is out of the picture. I know a lot of folks were considering Nick Foles. He's out of the picture. So, I mean, this quarterback situation, y'all, it's lingering. It's lingering. But like I said, I think they're going to wait. I think the Panthers are going to wait to see what happens with the Browns, with the whole Deshaun Watson, see if he has to serve any suspension, being that the Browns are the first game of the season for us. And, you know, we'll have to see if they have plans on playing Baker Mayfield. I mean, it might take a bit for it to get to that conclusion, but I could see why Carolina would be waiting on that. And then, you know, if we want to talk about free agent quarterbacks, I mean, Ryan Fitzpatrick, Cam Newton, Mike Glennon, AJ McCarron, Garrett Gilbert, Josh Rosen, Chris Streveler, Kurt Benkert, Anthony Gordon, Ryan Willis, Felix Harper, Levi Lewis, De'Aaron King. Those are your free agent quarterbacks. So, I mean, let's keep it real. Cam Newton is probably the best out of that list of free agent quarterbacks. I mean, I'm just keeping it real. If we're talking current available free agent quarterbacks, Cam Newton's the best on that list. Khalil Wesley says, when Clowney went back to Cleveland, that was a slap in the face. Well, let's take a look at his deal. Let's see what type of deal he got. One year, $11 million. Oh, so 10. So oh yeah, 11 million 1 year deal. Well, I mean, would have been nice if he could come to us, and now that's going to be interesting because we got to deal with both him and Myles Garrett. So Iquanu, he's going to have a busy first game because he's either going to be matched up with Clowney or with Myles Garrett. So that could potentially be a tough first game of the season, y'all. But mean, with a lot of folks don't like the idea of a Baker Mayfield, don't like the idea of a Cam Newton, don't like the idea of a Jimmy Garoppolo. But we have to be honest with ourselves. Are those upgrades over Sam Darnold? We got to be honest with ourselves, y'all. If we're in win now, we gotta upgrade at quarterback. That's just plain and simple as that. Ask yourselves, do you honestly believe that with what we have now, that Sam Darnold can break out and have a successful season to the point where this team improves and makes the playoffs? And it's like I said earlier in the video, I'm willing to bet that a good 90% of the fans believe that as a no. And that's a big percentage. That's a huge percentage. I mean, we got to be honest with ourselves. Y'all know y'all don't like Sam Darnold. But fifth-year option, we're going to take a hit with that $18 million regardless of whether he's on the team or not. So, I mean, that's just something that we have to just accept. And while our favorite quarterbacks may not be up for grabs to make this situation better, we have to accept and understand that we only have but so many options. And it's going to come down to figuring out what the best option is in order for this team to at least get back into the playoffs. If this is a win now, if this is truly a win now scenario. Because they have a big mountain to climb, especially 32 power ranking. This team has a huge mountain to climb. And looking at that schedule is tough. Definitely much tougher than last year's schedule. And when we think about it, we don't do well. This means a fifth consecutive losing season. Khalil Wesley says, if we get Jimmy G, he'll make us a playoff Super Bowl contender. Well, it's not impossible, but I say again, what about that shoulder? I mean, if we were to have him right now, what about his shoulder? We don't even know if he'll be cleared to even play week 1. The only information that we know is that in August is where he's expected to be cleared to start throwing. So there's not really any guarantee that he'll be ready to throw, ready to start week 1. It's not impossible, but we have to also think about who would be the most likely available to start week one if we do get a veteran quarterback. And I think if you look at it, Baker Mayfield, Cam Newton would be at the top of the list. Jimmy Garoppolo, there's some risk to it. There's no guarantee he would be ready to start week one. I mean, well, shoot, we have to wait and see how he throws when he's cleared to throw. Because honestly, if it wasn't for that shoulder, I would be all in on the idea of Jimmy Garoppolo. But it's that shoulder. It's quite a situation, y'all. It's a really, really tough, but interesting situation. And you know what's interesting? Going back to the draft, apparently the word is not only was Matt Corral Carolina's favorite quarterback, but they also strongly considered Sam Howell, and neither Kenny Pickett nor Malik Willis were under serious consideration. What are y'all's thoughts on that? That apparently Malik Willis nor Kenny Pickett were under serious consideration by Carolina compared to Matt Corral and Sam Howell. That's pretty interesting. That is very interesting. And then, of course, we have to look at the benefit behind getting an upgrade at quarterback, because it gives even more time for Matt Corral to develop. It gives him more of an edge to develop even more. Because let's be honest with ourselves. Sam Darnold is not a good candidate to mentor any up and coming quarterback. Let's just keep it real. That's another thing. Because I think you want to have as much as you can. If the whole idea is to be sold on Matt Corral being the future, give him what would be best for him to develop and to learn from. Ben McAdoo, sure. A veteran quarterback would definitely help as well. A good, more qualified veteran quarterback. And not to mention, going back to Jimmy Garoppolo, $26.9 million salary. The Panthers are very hesitant to take on. $26.9 million. That's a lot. That's a lot. The thing with a Cam Newton, one, he would have to accept that he would be going into camp not guaranteed the starter, and he would have to take on a small salary, regardless of if it's a 1 year, 2 year deal. And it's like I said before, Panthers are still open to bringing back Cam Newton. But we'll have to see what happens with the Browns. Because, like I said, they paid a lot of money for Deshaun Watson. That $230 million 5-year contract. But he could be sitting out some games via suspension. And I'm not too sure the Browns will even cut him. I'm not even sure they'll cut him. But only time will tell. And I feel like the Panthers are going to play the waiting game. I feel like they're going to play the waiting game. And let's also keep in mind, let's not forget about other teams that could use upgrade at quarterback. Atlanta. I'm sure they're not going to just settle on Marcus Mariota. Seattle. I'm pretty sure they're not just going to settle on Drew Lock. Those are two other teams we have to keep an eye out on. Because I'm sure they're going to want to upgrade at quarterback. You know, maybe more so Seattle than Atlanta, but those are two teams that I could think of off the top of my head that could use upgrades at quarterback, especially Seattle. So that could pose a problem. A lot of this has to be addressed, or else they're going to be in the exact same situation in 2023 in the postseason. Or, excuse me, in the offseason. So, we'll have to see what happens. I definitely think it's very interesting to see how this plays out. Because the big talk for the Carolina Panthers has been quarterback. And it's going to be the main talk for a while until it gets addressed. I am kind of curious, though. I'm very curious to see who will break out. Who will actually break out this year? I'm very curious but excited to see who will break out for the Carolina Panthers. And who knows, y'all? Quarterback could be the final piece that determines whether we make a playoff spot or not. That could be the deciding factor as to whether the Carolina Panthers make the playoffs or not. That could be the missing piece. Well, I mean, it is the missing piece, but it could be the piece that sets it in stone, that ushers the Carolina Panthers, that helps usher the Carolina Panthers back into a playoff spot. Whether they win a playoff game or not, that it could usher them back into the playoffs. Think about that, y'all. That could legit be the case. That could be the case. That quarterback will determine how this team's final record will be by the end of the season. Universal Chicklets. I don't know about that, bro. How you figure? Because realistically, that's one of our weakest positions. We've upgraded on the offensive line. We've pretty much sustained, some of our weapons on offense and added some new weapons. Defense, like I said, we could use maybe another interior guy. And, we've done some additions to the secondary. We could probably upgrade the linebacker position a little bit. Y'all need more than a quarterback to make the playoffs in that division. Have you not been keeping up with our additions and with the draft, bro? Like, yeah, we could use, a few more, additions, especially with the cap. But why do you think quarterback has been the main focus of Carolina ever since the draft? Also, you have to also look at what our division looks like right now. Realistically, Carolina has an opportunity to sweep Atlanta. Saints, give or take, could be split. If anything, the main threat in our division is, of course, the Bucs. So, I think we have a better chance of not finishing last in the division, but we definitely are capable of at least sweeping the Falcons, splitting or sweeping the Saints. That depends on how we play. The Bucs are really still the big main threat in the NFC South. But we've been working on this roster outside of quarterback through free agency and through the draft. And we had a dang on good draft. Like I said, I'd say give or take a legit middle linebacker, another body on that D line, but most of all, quarterback. And we have a chance. Because already, especially the offense, has been upgraded through the O-line. Greatly upgraded. The only other thing is health. Can Christian McCaffrey stay healthy? But, we picked up Deontay Foreman, a power back. J.C. Horn is back and is looking in tremendous shape and has been working out. We brought back Dante Jackson. Secondary can still be very strong with, hopefully CJ Henderson can evolve, Keith Taylor, Jeremy Chin. We brought in Xavier Woods. Universal Chicklids, you must have forgotten who's in our division, bro. You must have forgotten who's in our division, especially with how things look currently. If anybody is a threat, biggest threat is the Bucks. I am not threatened by the Falcons. Universal Chicklet said Saints and Bucks are not losing. You do realize we split with the Saints even last season, right? You do realize that, right? Like I said, the Bucks are a threat. Sure, they're definitely a threat, but they ain't number one. They're not invincible. But yeah, they're a threat. But you got to remember, we split with the Saints. I'm well aware of y'all's schedule, bro. Just being real on it. I understand there. Okay, first of all, you were just talking about in our division. Were you not just talking about in our division? And I just told you, very capable of sweeping the Falcons. Have you seen who they have on the Falcons? I mean, yeah, they got what? Drake London. Only other threat is Kyle Pitts. They got no Calvin Ridley. They don't really have Cordell Patterson's more of a receiving running back. And Marcus Mariota, really? Come on now. And the Saints, like I said, the game that we beat the Saints, we shut down Alvin Kamara. Not an easy task. Y'all need to go on and grab Baker and hope y'all can make the playoffs. I definitely agree that getting a Baker Mayfield or one of the other quarterbacks would help our chances versus Sam Darnold. I will agree with you on that. I'll definitely agree with you on that. But we definitely have a chance to at least sweep the Falcons, split with the Saints. And like I said, the Bucks will be difficult. Sure, they'll be difficult. But this team has made some valuable upgrades, more than you think. They didn't have Michael Thomas then. Now the Saints have two explosive receivers and Kamara. Their QB play will make the decision. Like I said, in the game that we won, we shut down Alvin Kamara. And yeah, like I said, that's why I said a split. More than likely a split. But don't sit there and ignore the upgrades that our team has made. like I said, why do you think quarterback is the most talked about with this Carolina Panthers team? Think about it. I agree. You guys look a little better on paper, though. I'd say about a medium. I won't say a little better because, like I said, something we haven't had for a long while is a strong offensive line. And like I said, my big thing on defense, stopping the run. We can stop the run. That's a big boost. Special teams is pretty much set. Like I said, we get this quarterback situation addressed, it's going to increase our chances. We've upgraded coaching staff. Don't forget the upgrades we've done on coaching staff, the experience. You got to look at the whole picture. It's not just all players, but we've upgraded our coaching staff, special teams, offensive line, offensive coordinator, getting Steve Wilkes back, defensive line. Whole picture. Whole picture. And I'm excited. I'm excited for my team. Despite even if the quarterback position doesn't get addressed, I'm excited for my team to see how things go. And especially if our guys are back and healthy. I mean, we've already seen what a healthy J.C. Horn can do, an impact that J.C. Horn can do. We haven't had a healthy Christian McCaffrey in a couple of seasons, but you know what he can do when he is healthy. And like I said, it's very possible that Matt Corral could come in early, if Sam Darnold stinks it up. Very possible. Whether it comes down to that or not, I'm still going to hope for the best. But the main thing, I think, going forward is they need to figure out what they want to do with their remaining cap space, that $25, $30 million in cap space. Figure out what they want to do with that. See how things play out, playing the waiting game on the idea of keeping open for making a play for Baker Mayfield, depending on what happens with Deshaun Watson. And just, like I said, just everybody getting back to work, being healthy, and just seeing everybody in action. Like I said, the preseason games, which I'll go over, 3 preseason games. August 13th, 1 p.m. against the Commanders. That's an away game. August 19th, 7 p.m. against the Patriots, an away game. And then they will finish the preseason at home August 26th, 7 p.m. against the Buffalo Bills. And you know something? Pretty decent selection of preseason games. And I can't wait to see our rookies in action. I can't wait to see how Matt Corral does in preseason. See him take some snaps, hopefully with the 1s and the 2s. and see what he can do. I'm excited. I'm definitely excited. Because regardless, I'm going to support my team, even with the folks that are on here. It's not going to be easy. But what do they say? Keep pounding. That's how we got to go about this. Oh, another thing I wanted to address. I know there was a lot of talks about the idea of the Panthers going after Sean Payton next season. Honestly, I have mixed feelings about it. Sean Payton, loads of experience, has a championship under his belt, but the bounty gate. It's just I'm kind of at a crossroads with the idea of Carolina going in on a Sean Payton. That bounty gate kind of rubbed me a little the wrong way. So while Sean Payton, let's keep it real, would be an upgrade over Matt Rule, I can't say I would 100% be confident and be on board with just going all in on that. Personally. Because like I said, that whole bounty gate rubbed me the wrong way. So, I don't know. What do y'all think about that? The idea of them going after a Sean Payton next season. I don't think it's going to happen, but it's been talked about. And then apparently there's been a rumor going around about the possibility of Drew Brees coming out of retirement. But yeah, I don't see that happening. But yeah, apparently there's a rumor of Drew Brees coming out of retirement. But nah, I'll pass on that. I'll pass on that. There's a Cat Crave article. 5 quarterbacks the Carolina Panthers could trade for in 2023. Jordan Love, Aaron Rodgers, CJ Stroud, Kyler Murray, or Tua Tagovailoa. Dang. Well, a handful of those would be an upgrade over Sam Darnold, that's for sure. Phanom says, I would rather us draft and develop our own guys. Yeah, which I definitely think is at that point. I would love for Bill Cowher to come coach here. The great Bill Cowher. Yeah, would be nice. Oh, yeah, I forgot. That's right. They did waive Troy Pride Jr. Yeah, unfortunately, I honestly didn't think Troy Pride was going to bounce back. I mean, truthfully, I didn't think he was really good, but it's unfortunate. The injury really set him back, and then he got waived. So, not sure what's next for Troy Pride Jr., but honestly, I didn't really think he was good. To be honest with y'all, I was hopeful after he was drafted, but just did not turn out to be good. Vietnam says he was a bust in my eyes, which, totally understand. So, I mean, yeah. I mean, you don't want to see folks go down like that on injuries, but it's unfortunate. Derek Brown is also looking like a bust. Uh, it's questionable. I mean, two seasons, 75 total tackles, 16 of them tackles for loss, 5 sacks, 21 quarterback hits, 8 passes deflected. I mean, I didn't think we were going to get very big numbers by Derek Brown anyway. So I don't know about a bust because I honestly didn't predict him to have large numbers because I just don't think he's that type of player. Same thing, kind of like Star Lotulelei. Star Lotulelei didn't have big numbers when he was with us, but he was a run-stopping DT. So, I mean, if anything, I think what really hurt is Derek Brown not having somebody side by side to really help complement. When you're drafted in the top 10, you're expected to stop the run. Brown hasn't done that. I mean, 75 total tackles, 16 tackles for loss. I mean, like I said, they're not huge numbers, but I mean, he's just one player. And as a whole, they haven't done well at stopping the run. So, I mean, like I said, I think singling him out is a little unfair. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. When the team as a whole hasn't been able to stop the run. And like I said, two seasons. Not to mention, he chased down Alvin Kamara. He chased down Alvin Kamara and got the tackle, the potential touchdown saving tackle. He ran down Alvin Kamara. He ran down Alvin Kamara. I feel you, Vietnam. Look at the eye test splits. That Dallas game, he got his lunch money taken. Like, finish him. Your soul is mine. He ran down Alvin Kamara. A 6'5", 320-pounder ran down Alvin Kamara. And it's like I said before, what help has he had? Daquan Jones wasn't a help. Daquan Jones wasn't a help. Let's keep it real. He wasn't a help. Brown plays too soft. I just feel like given with the defense and stopping the run as a whole and what he's been able to do in 2 seasons. Because, like I said, I don't know how. I mean, yeah, he was drafted in top 10. But like I said, when the whole entire defense has struggled to stop the run, you can't just single out one player like that. That's so unfair. That's so unfair. It's a team sport. I don't know how much I can't stress that. Hey, Nathan John, good to see you. But it's a team sport, y'all. I mean, shoot, look at how the Mavericks are doing right now. Luka can't do it all. No bench help. No, not a lot of role player help. And look at them. They're down 0-3. And Luka's what? Just dropped 40? Come on now. Let's be reasonable. The defense as a whole struggled stopping the run. I think that's unfair. I think that's a little unfair. Nathan John, Luka's doing it all, but what is that leading to? He's doing it all, and they're 0-3 right now, about to get swept. It's the same concept. It's the same concept. Does he need help? Absolutely. They made the conference finals, but did you watch the games? Did you watch the games? Dinwiddie showed up, and when it came down to it, what's his face? Dodo, Brunson. But when you don't continuously have that, it's going to fail, and they don't consistently have that, and it's showed. Otherwise, it wouldn't have taken them to bounce back after being down 0-2. Yeah, he's carrying his team without help. Brown isn't carrying the D-line. Who is carrying the D-line, though? Who is carrying the D-line, especially on the interior? Nobody on that interior is carrying the D-line. So how can you single out Brown when nobody on that interior D-line is carrying the team? I mean, yeah, if anything, the edges. But what was the issue with the edges? A lot of over pursuits as well, unfortunately. Would have been nice to see Hassan Reddick in the Pro Bowl as well as Brian Burns. It's kind of unfortunate that didn't happen. But you can't name anybody on that interior D that really helped contribute. And I think it's unfair to single out Brown when he's not the only one on that interior. What about Daquan? He's the veteran. He was the veteran. I mean, even KK Short in his remaining time before he was let go. I just don't think that he's done enough for him to be considered trash when the defense as a whole has struggled in defending the run. Yeah, the pass rush is there. Sure. The pass rush is there. I definitely feel that it's there. It's done some damage. But the defense as a whole has struggled in stopping the run. And I think it's unfair to single him out as the primary, as the only one. I mean, 21 total quarterback hits. I mean, yeah, the sacks are low. I'm not surprised about the number of sacks. 8 passes deflected, 75 total tackles in 2 seasons. Mamba. Oh man, I'm so sorry, Mamba. I didn't say hey to you. Good to see you. I think we should let the cap space roll over next season so we can pay Brian Burns. Oh yeah, that's not a bad idea, especially considering we picked up his 5th-year option. I really think it's just a scheme issue. If Derek Brown was on the Cardinals or Eagles, I think he would be doing really well. It's a thought. That's a thought. I mean, like I said, from what I originally saw of Derek Brown, I was not expecting big numbers. I wasn't expecting big numbers. Like I said, if anything, I feel like having somebody beside him to complement, to contribute so that he can eat, which is pretty much the same thing that happened with Star Lotulelei, had K1 Short at his side. Therefore, he was able to eat. Now, of course, Star is the better player than Derek Brown. I mean, sure, I can agree with that. But, is he the better run stopper? Sure, absolutely. But a lot of plays Star Lotulelei made was from a supporting cast. And he cleaned up the mess. He got to eat because supporting cast helped to eat, which is awesome. I'm not downplaying that at all. I'm definitely not downplaying that. But that's the sort of similar situation that I think this with Derek Brown will play out. And I'm hoping that's what the deal is, if not better, in this 3rd year. Matt Ioannidis, if he can stay fit, will be a great addition. He's far better than Brown at interior pressure. Remind me again, where did he play at before? The Washington, right? Yeah, Washington. Oh, that's where his whole career has been so far. And see, when you look at Matt Ioannidis, what's he mainly known for? And I think you pointed it out, Nathan John. Interior pressure. Sacks. He has 24 and a half sacks. So, if anything, great opportunity for Derek Brown play side by side with that, and he gets a chance to eat. But I mean 24 sacks. 24 career sacks. Yikes. Wasn't fit last year, carrying injuries. He was a beast before that, though. Apparently, if he had 24 sacks, apparently he was a beast. 175 tackles, 2 forced fumbles, 1 pass deflection, a fumble recovery. And that's another thing with Derek Brown. He has 8 passes deflected. He's got 8 passes deflected. So, I mean, I'm hoping that'll be a great compliment because Daquan Jones wasn't it. He wasn't it. But Mamba and Nathan John, now that y'all are on here, what are y'all's thoughts about the idea of, in order for us to be truly believe that we are win now, would y'all agree or disagree that we would have to upgrade the quarterback position ASAP? I would like to get y'all's thoughts on that, and anybody else that hasn't spoken on that. Vietnam, you could would love to hear from you. Would y'all agree or disagree that for them to seal this as a win now team, they would have to upgrade the quarterback position ASAP? Y'all's thoughts on that? Because I really feel like, because it's the most talked about position with Carolina, among everything else, that could be the difference between Carolina making the playoffs or not. That could be the final piece. I think the only thing that we have to accept is that upgrading that position is going to have to be in the form of either a Jimmy Garoppolo, a Baker Mayfield, a Cam Newton. Nick Foles is off the picture because he's going with the Colts. There is Ryan Fitzpatrick, but I don't know how folks feel about Ryan Fitzpatrick. But I mean, there's a certain limit to what would be available. But would it be or would it not be safe to say that most of these options are an upgrade over at least Sam Darnold? Vietnam says true. The only way they can say that is if we go after Mayfield and bring in another primetime player on defense, which I would hope would be either on the D line or at linebacker. Mamba says, I agree to a certain extent. Okay. And you can elaborate more on that if you can. Nathan John says, I'm happy to sit on what we have because I like next year's class a lot. Have Corral show what he can do if Darnold stinks it up early in the season. If Corral is it, great. If not, we can draft a beast. So, here's my thing with that. So, does that mean if he struggles that's it? Just bam, he's out. Draft another quarterback. You would be okay with that? I mean, I don't know. I don't know how that would look. But I mean, we'll see. I don't know how that would look, but we'll see. Vietnam says no. Cam doesn't have it anymore, and he is clear worse than Sam. Well, the thing with that is Carolina Panthers, number one, are still open to bringing him back. They're still open to bringing him back. And two, like I said, he came in week 10, started week 11. So that's a factor. Mamba says Kyler Murray is a question mark also right now also. Yeah, I think word was he didn't attend OTAs. I think is the recent info on him. So we'll have to see how that plays out. I think Kyler Murray could get us to the playoffs, could help get us to the playoffs, but then Kyler Murray has been kind of a bust in the playoffs lately. There's argument whether he might be the NFL's James Harden, so to speak. Phantom says yes, and let Corral be the backup. Cut Walker and Sam, which I assume you mean cut those two after this season. Phantom. Nathan John says I want to see what Corral can do and assess what we do from there. If we end up with a top 5 pick, I think we draft a quarterback because we will have a new coaching staff. They aren't committed to Corral. Wait, they aren't? Because I was under the impression that was their favorite out of this draft, especially considering they weren't under serious consideration for Kenny Pickett and Malik Willis. And apparently their second choice was Sam Howell. So are they not committed to Corral? I don't know. Maybe I'm missing something, but I was under the impression that they're high on him based on what they liked out of his film and everything. Mama says, because Baker is hurt and Jimmy G is hurt, how much better are they than Darnold on the Panthers? Were a worse team than the Browns and 49ers. How bad is Baker Mayfield's injury? Because I know what Jimmy G, he won't be cleared to throw until August. So there's still kind of a question mark on even if we were to get him, if he would even be ready to start week 1. Baker Mayfield, Mamba, do you have any info on the severity of his injury? Nathan Johnson says a new coaching staff isn't committed to Corral. If Rule is fired, the new coaching staff aren't committed. Oh, so you're saying just the amount of impact a new head coach would be on that decision. Is that what you're saying? Because, I mean, I was under the impression that with the coaching staff that they added now and kind of, with – because you have to remember, Ben McAdoo was a big influence on getting Matt Corral. Let's not forget, he was a big influence on that. So, help me to understand. Do you mean more so from the head coaching perspective? Is that what you mean, or just as a whole? Because I don't know. I'm just going by certain things that has been kind of mentioned. If that makes any sense. Mom says I just don't think he's worth what he's asking though. Yeah, and that's the other thing. And then Mambo, when you mention it, health definitely being a concern. Now, if you want to really go on health, and availability, had a labrum tear and he had surgery recently, I believe. Oh, gotcha. Well, if that's the case, then I mean, availability is something you have to look at. And if we're looking at availability, it would come down to Ryan Fitzpatrick, Cam Newton would be the top 2. Because other than those two, you have Mike Glennon, AJ McCarron, Garrett Gilbert, Josh Rosen, Chris Streveler, Ben Kurt, Anthony Gordon, Ryan Willis, Felix Harper, Levi Lewis, and De'Aaron King. Now, and I'm pretty sure y'all don't want either of those others that I just mentioned that are available. And John says, yes, but McAdoo won't be here if Rule gets fired. None of them will. New coaches generally want their own guys. I want to see Corral play. No point going into next offseason not knowing what we have. So you don't think there's a chance that McAdoo would get promoted to head coach if Rule gets fired, or at least before the end of the season? Do you think that could still possibly happen, and sort of speak? Because I know that was something that was kind of mentioned before, but I don't know. Because I mean, Wilkes has head coaching experience, not good head coaching experience, and so is McAdoo. But McAdoo's not really known for head coaching; he's mainly known for offensive coordinator. So McAdoo will not be the next head coach of the Panthers. He might be caretaker, but he won't be our head coach next year. I can promise you that. And you're definitely probably right. Nah, now that I think about it, yeah, you would be right, because I could see them wanting a real legit fresh start. So you got a point there. Mamba says Ryan Fitzpatrick did take the Dolphins to 10 wins. He's interesting for sure. My thing with Ryan Fitzpatrick, some games you just don't know what Ryan Fitzpatrick is going to show up. I think that's the thing about Fitz. You just don't know who's going to show up. But, like I said, we have to be honest with ourselves. If we're going specifically by who's available on this free agent list, Cam Newton and Ryan Fitzpatrick are the top two. So that should say something. And with our current squad of quarterbacks, new head coach will bring in his own offensive coordinator. That's why we aren't committed to Corral if there's a new coaching staff. And you may be right about that. I don't know. Personally, I just feel like it would be kind of a weird look. But I mean, it is a business. It is a business, and at the end of the day, you got to do what you got to do to put your team in the best position to win, regardless of what that looks like. I mean, hey, Golden State did it with Kevin Durant. So, I mean, a lot of people disagree with that, but hey, what did it lead to? It led to them getting a championship. So, hey, you got to do what you got to do to put your team in the best position to win. If we have a top 3 pick or something, Blitz, it's going terribly wrong at quarterback. I've got no doubt you pick a quarterback with the top 3 pick. And what is it now? The word is that CJ Stroud would be sort of like the potential number 1. Was there another quarterback mentioned? I know CJ Stroud was mentioned as like the Vietnam says, even with a new coaching staff, Scotty ain't letting them decide what to do at Corral. And that's a fair point too. That's definitely a fair point as well. But it's definitely going to be a challenge. Ben McAdoo working with Sam Darnold. Because there's a lot of talks about, how successful could Sam Darnold end up being with the help of a Ben McAdoo. Remains to be seen. But like I said, I'm pretty sure that a good 90% of the fan base thinks just no matter what they throw at Sam Darnold, he's just not going to get it done. Nathan John says there are 5 going in the top 10 next year in some mocks right now, but yes, CJ Stroud is number 1. Gotcha. Don't be surprised if we trade up for Stroud or Young. Oh yeah, Young was the other one. Bryce Young. Yeah, that's right. I knew there was another one mentioned. Bryce Young. That's right. Totally forgot about him. Good point. Also, Nathan John, if you got a chance to look at the schedule, Nathan John, what's your just with the way things look right now, what's your record prediction? When you get a chance, Nathan John, what's your record prediction? Because I don't think you were on the last stream I did, but what's your record prediction? Um, but yeah. Why do they have us being number 32 in the power rankings, but not mocking us with the first overall pick? Well, Vietnam, if you ask me, it's because I think that because the impact behind the squad of quarterbacks that we have, I think they just set such a low bar for that, and given, 2 back-to-back 5-win seasons, I think that's a big part of it, to be honest. And then factoring in teams that we lost against that we had no business losing to. Nathan John says Scott drafts for the scheme and the coaching staff, not the other way around. If we force Corral into a new head coach, you're not going to get the best coach available. Let the head coach choose his own. Nathan John says another 5-12 seasons. So long, Matt. Wow. So really, like another 5-win season, even with the upgrades? The roster is in far better shape than it was a year ago, so it's not as bad as it seems. But really, still another 5-win season, even with the upgrades. Interesting. Then why not have us picking first overall next year? It's like they want us to suck, but not want us to get better. That's a fair point, Vietnam. But at the same time, Carolina has been kind of one of those teams that, despite not having the worst record in, a couple of seasons, they've kind of gotten the spotlight quite a bit on being like bad compared to a lot of other teams. I think because comparing positions to other teams that are in more of a rebuilding phase, and like I said, that's just my guess. I could be wrong. That's my guess. Nathan Johnson says, yes, Rule has lost the team, in my opinion. We need a better coach to inspire the roster. Wow, that big of an impact. That even with the coaching staff, just Matt Rule still being there, is enough damage that equals another 5-win season. Wow. But, I can't be surprised, because that's a fair argument. That is a very fair argument. So, If we had a good head coach, I'd have us going 8-9 or 9-8. Well, the hope is that with him potentially being on the hot seat, that he'll get it together. But it did also seem like adding a veteran quarterback could sort of help plead his case. But after all, not a lot of people like Matt Rule, so it's fair. It's fair. A third round quarterback doesn't mean much. For every Russell Wilson, there are 20 bums that burn out. That's also a fair argument. And not only that, even some higher drafted quarterbacks too. I mean, shoot, Jimmy Clausen, Chris Swinkie, for crying out loud. Oh, Chris Swinkie. Oh, how you've disappointed us so. If Corral is the guy, we shouldn't be trading for another quarterback if we believe in him that much. Well, that's an interesting case because I mean that's a very interesting case because part of me feels like if Corral is the guy, then the 5th-year option. Well, then again, that was done way at the beginning of last season, which that was just a dumb move anyway. So wait, let me retract that. Um, I mean, here's the thing though. I feel like there's a good mix of fans out there that are pretty sold on Matt Corral being a suitable candidate. I know some really wanted Kenny Pickett, some really wanted Malik Willis, and there was even the catalyst of folks that wanted Desmond Ritter. But I mean, that's a lot of pressure coming off of 2 back-to-back 5-win seasons, potentially, coming off of a 5th losing season. That's a lot of pressure for Matt Corral to help contribute in saving this franchise and getting back to a winning season. That's a lot of pressure on a rookie quarterback. Not saying it can't be done, but that's a lot of pressure. If you trade for Jimmy G or Baker, you're essentially saying he's a backup. Well, I think the thing with that is, according to what a lot of folks were saying, Kenny Pickett was really who was pretty much decided as being the most starter ready quarterback. So, I mean, wouldn't that technically kind of line up? Wouldn't that kind of line up anyway, regardless of if we went for Baker Mayfield or Jimmy G? Because, I mean, Kenny Pickett was really the only one that was designated as starter ready like that. So I hope Corral rips up training camp and jumps Darnold before week 1. Will keep me interested in watching the Panthers all season at least, even if we are losing games. Now that you mentioned that, Nathan John, fans, how likely? What do you think? Give me a percentage, just a wild guess percentage. Do you think the chances are that Matt Corral, starts week 1, regular season week 1? Give me y'all's best percentage guess. I'm curious. Half and half. Nathan John says 50%. Joe Velasco says 10%. I am going to say, barring anything crazy happening, I'm going to say about 30%. I think there's a 30% chance. Vietnam says 45%. Okay. A 50, a 10, and a 45. And I said a 30. If this competition is Darnold, he doesn't need to do much. Typically, with how things have gone, yes, you're right. But whether it's good or bad, Sam Darnold does have the experience edge. Good or bad, he does have the experience edge. That might be the only edge he has, but that's the edge that he has. Vietnam says, I think that we should play him and see what we have in him. Well, I think a really big thing that'll definitely help is I hope we do at least get a chance to see Matt Corral in preseason play with both the ones and the twos, which I would think that he will get the opportunity to play with the ones and the twos in one or two of those preseason games. I would think. What I like most about Corral is that players love him. He's a leader. I think he'll overtake Sam quicker than most people believe. Well, it's definitely possible, especially he gets off to a good start. That'll definitely help his case. Far more alpha than Darnold. He is a baller. Well, my thing. Okay, let's put a couple of things into perspective about Sam Darnold. One, his attitude. Like, I feel like his whole demeanor is kind of like a sort of demeanor. I'm here. I'm playing. But despite what few things, Sam Darnold does have a share of highlights. Big or small, he has a share of highlights. And I feel like the big eye-catching highlight was, of course, the 19-yard pass in the Minnesota game to Ian Thomas, which was a phenomenal throw. So I would argue and say that he can make the throw. He's capable of making the throw. He just doesn't do it enough. He just doesn't do it enough. But I will say that he is capable of making that throw. He just doesn't do it enough. Sam's chill. That's great when things are going well, but it comes across like he doesn't care when the team is going bad. That I do agree with. Corral is the type of guy that to get in people's faces if they mess up and demand more. Interesting. I hope to see plenty of that. I definitely hope to see plenty of that. Sam Darnold in the red zone. I mean, he's done a couple of draws. I mean, those are some highlights. The guy can scramble occasionally. He can bust off a scramble. So I mean, Sam Darnold is capable. He just hasn't done enough of it or anywhere close to enough of it. And I think that's overall the main thing with Sam Darnold. He has made some good decisions before, but he's made a gajillion times more bad decisions than good decisions. So take that for what it's worth, I guess. But when it comes down to it, the starting quarterback position is for Matt Corral to up and take, and for Sam Darnold to hold on to for dear life. That's the way I see it. Corral balls out and really shows up in practice and in preseason. That spot is probably going to be locked in for him. But Sam Darnold's going to try to hold on to it for dear life, if you ask me. It's going to be a battle. But I will say this about Sam Darnold. It's definitely his one and final chance to make things right for himself on this Carolina Panthers roster. This is indeed his last shot. I think it's safe to say that this is indeed Sam Darnold's last shot. And the only way he's going to make it count, seal the starting quarterback position, and he's going to have to play the best football he's ever played in his career. If he plays the best football that he's ever played in his career, and it clearly shows that, then there will be fair argument as to whether that dude should get paid or not. And he will have a case. Now this is a good question, Nathan John. Let me ask you a question, Blitz, and everyone else. Is there any way possible you see us re-signing Darnold next offseason? The only way that I could see that becoming a reality, and this is a long shot. This is a long shot. He would have to ball out to the point where not only do we, one, make the playoffs, and two, he wins comeback player of the year. Or not so much comeback player of the year, most improved player of the year. If he can do those two things, then yeah, I think he deserves to be paid and brought back. As crazy as that sounds, if those two factors can happen, clearly balls out, and he wins most improved player, he deserves it. Because him having a great season, a legit great season, is the start of a comeback. It's a start of a career comeback. And I feel like if anybody given a chance, even whether it's a second, third chance, or the final chance, if they're able to show up and show out, they should be compensated in some way, shape, or form. They should be compensated in some way, shape, or form. If it's a clear improvement and a clear big contribution into the franchise, they deserve some sort of compensation. Joe Valesco says no. Nathan John says, if he has a great season, I still wouldn't pay him. Too much evidence that he falls back into past form. I just can't trust him, even if he has a great season. I hope he has a great season and the Panthers make the playoffs. If that happens, I'd franchise tag him. I couldn't give him a long-term deal. Franchise tagging, I could. That's definitely a possibility. That's definitely a possibility. I don't know. Like I'm trying to look at it from a player's perspective. While consistency is important, I do agree. Consistency is very important. But it's got to start somewhere. It's got to start somewhere. And if it starts with this upcoming season, then he at least deserves to prove that it can become consistent. And maybe Nathan John, maybe that means franchise tagging him. Maybe that means franchise tagging him. You know, now that you mention it, maybe that's what that means. He'd need to have 2 or 3 good seasons in a row before I'd commit to him long term. Well, now if he gets franchise tagged and he has another similar season, then I think he definitely deserves a long-term deal. Especially given his age and just like I said, you know, really getting his career revived. If he gets franchised and he has a great season, then yeah, I think that warrants a little bit of a long-term deal. Maybe another 2 to maybe 3 years. It doesn't have to be exuberant like 5-6 years or anything like that. No. He would have to win MVP for him to get something like that. No. If we're talking extension, maybe another 2, possibly 3 years. But, you know, if he won like MVP or something like that, then maybe I could see 4 or 5 years. I mean, you know, for him to get to that sort of ceiling, like that can't be ignored. I'm not saying that's going to happen. I doubt that's going to happen. I highly doubt that's going to happen. But if he were to bust out to the point of making a MVP, then yeah, I think that would warrant a big deal. 2 good seasons with us making the playoffs, then sure, I'd agree to offer him a 2 or 3 year deal. That's fair. And like I said, franchise tag, probably not a bad idea. That could probably set the course of it. But like you said, he would have to blow up. He would have to clearly exceed every previous season that he's ever had in the NFL for him to really be able to get on that path. But I think it's safe to say that right now is his last shot. Clearly his last shot. So we'll have to see what happens. And I think a lot of people definitely want to see Matt Corral up in there. See if he can really light a fire in this team. Like you said, Nathan John, given his attitude, his leadership, what he would bring to the table. But because this is a hard schedule, and that's another, and that's a ooh. What about factoring in the schedule, Nathan John? Given the strength of our schedule, if Sam Darnold has a great season, gets to the playoffs, maybe factoring the degree of difficulty with the schedule, and he does well, could that factor in a little bit in the incentive column? What do you think about that? And anybody else can chime in as well. But what do you think about that? Oh, still franchise tag at best. Okay. No, that's fair. That's fair. That's fair. Yeah, I just figured I'd throw that in there, just given the difficulty of our schedule. But no, no, that's fair. That's fair. Um, so one thing I want to ask: what are y'all's expectations of how y'all want to see the offense and defense ran? I think for offense, I expect to see a lot of run, a lot of run first, especially with the McCaffrey Foreman combo, which I hope to see more McCaffrey out as a receiver. We'll see. But I expect run heavy usage of the tight ends, which is what Ben McAdoo likes to do. And I'm hoping with the protection from the offensive line, open up some play action and we can see some stuff deep. I'm hoping we can see a complementary aerial attack behind a run heavy style. That's what I'm predicting. And now I could be way out of left field here, but that's what I'm predicting based on what this roster is looking like. And defense leading the charge at stopping the run. I think the pass rush will still be fine. It'll be a chance for folks like Amari Barno, YGM to hopefully showcase more and evolve. Linebacking core, I'm still kind of iffy about. But hopefully, with Luvu can continue to go like he's been going, Corey Littleton to contribute. And then the secondary, I'm not too worried about the secondary, but I do hope that Keith Taylor and CJ Henderson can break out. Nathan John says, game managing quarterback with heavy run game. Agreed. Defense desperately needs to improve stopping the run or we have no hope. Facts. Because like I said, I'm not too concerned about the secondary. Like I said, I think J.C. Horn will have a great sophomore year. C.J. Henderson. Now, C.J. Henderson, this may be another one this may be his last opportunity to really show that he can blow up. Otherwise, which I hope he can. I really hope he can. Because I think CJ Henderson has a great opportunity to really blow up and really heavily bolster the cornerback core for sure. Nathan John says, I agree. Snow is good at scheming up blitzes. Really need to improve the interior on the D-line and linebackers. Secondary should be fine. Yeah, and I really, with linebacker, that middle linebacker spot, I'm going to really have my eyes on. But like you said, I think with Snow mixing up the packages, I think that's going to really help. And just that D-line pressure. Because honestly, I think the pass rush is there for the most part, but the run stopping has to be the biggest thing fixed. But I think the pass rush will be fine, and I think the secondary will be fine. Vietnam says, I want the offense to pound the rock and heavy play action deep shots to Moore and Robbie. And that's another thing too, Vietnam, which I'm right there with you. Hopefully, this will be the year DJ Moore's touchdown numbers will increase. That Robbie Anderson can bounce back and have the type of year that he had with Teddy Bridgewater. Terrace Marshall, this is his chance to really blow up. We saw some flashes of him. This is his chance to blow up and prove that he could be the go-to slot man. And that's another tall receiver as well. Nathan John says, we will know how Henderson goes just by training camp. If he's there and practicing all offseason, I think he'll have a breakout year. If he's missing training because of off-field issues, he will bust. He will be a bust. Yeah, you make a good point there. But I'm hopeful. I'm definitely hopeful. Because I think if he could blow up, it'll definitely show and affect the secondary in a big way. And we could see some more turnovers. Vietnam says, for defense, I want ironclad run defense and pressure on the quarterback. It doesn't have to make a lot of sacks, but I want him off his spot. And turnovers, defensive scoring, and special teams return touchdowns. And that's another thing I'm hoping to see. Our turnover ranks increase. We've done pretty well when it comes down to forcing fumbles. I think we've done pretty well with that, but we could really get that interception count up and really stifle the quarterback, get him off rhythm. And like I said, I think the pass rush will be there. A good rotation. Like I said, I think if we could add another interior D lineman, I think that would really, really help. But I think the rotation on the edge, I think is pretty much there. Linebacker play. We got to see what happens with Damian Wilson. But other than that, it may be a Shaq Thompson, Frankie Louvu, Corey Littleton with a mixture of Brandon Smith in there. I also want Trimble to see more red zone catches. We never take shots to the end zone when we're at the 30 or closer. That's what good teams do. Vietnam, I expect the tight end position to be used more with Ben McAdoo at the helm. And I think with somebody like a Tommy Trimble, who we have seen flashes of, I think we can expect to see more of that. And then Ian Thomas, he got the extension, so Ian Thomas has to show up and show out. I mean, we haven't had a great tight end since Greg Olsen, so it's time that we're shown the next best tight end. And it could be Trimble, could be Ian Thomas, but Ian Thomas, he's had a lot of chances, so we're hoping that works out. Nathan John says, happy with special teams addition. Good coach, good punter, and Heckler. I expect it to improve a ton. Yeah, I think special teams is pretty much set. With the re-signing of Zane Gonzalez, who's been consistent, bringing in all-star punter and Johnny Hecker, bringing in a very great return specialist in Andre Roberts. I think special teams is pretty much set. We should draft a first-round pass rusher or top-notch middle linebacker. We shouldn't even draft a quarterback. We already have one. With this schedule, we will have to be able to run the ball against 8-man fronts because they will not respect our passing attack. Yes, and I really hope we see a good mix of runs to the outside and inside. I just don't want to keep seeing pounding up the middle with Christian McCaffrey. That can't happen. There needs to be a good mix of runs. Christian McCaffrey, let's get some sweeps, some tosses, leak them out in the flats. I'm not saying you can't run them in between tackles, but don't do it so much. Leak them out. Screens, sweeps, tosses. Use them as bait. They brought in D'Onta Foreman for a reason, and we still got Chuba Hubbard. I mean, y'all, just those three running backs. McCaffrey, Foreman, Hubbard. That's a trio you can work with. Y'all. So if anything, I think our run game should be great. That's a good triple threat of running backs. All three of them starting experience. Hey, we should be able to pound that pigskin repeatedly. And then in the passing game, open things up, use those tight ends. And like I said, I really hope to see DJ Moore's touchdown numbers increase. Agree. Need to mix things up and not be predictable. Anyway, I'm off. Have a good one, guys. Catch you next time. Thank you so much, Nathan John, for coming through and contributing. Always a pleasure having you. Always a pleasure hearing from you. You have a blessed day tomorrow. We'll see you soon. But I'm excited, y'all. I think if just a lot of things go according to plan, if they can really, and this is where the coaching has to come in. Matt Rule needs to be able to let the experienced coaches do their thing and let the results pile up. On paper, there's a lot of talent on this team, more than most may think. But the execution has to be there. We had a great draft, bolster up the offensive line and free agency and in the draft. I'm very curious to see who's going to win the offensive line starting positions. Who's going to really seal the deal? Because there's a lot of talk about Ikwonu, and also let's not forget about Brady Christensen. Not with CMC, with that power back that we picked up. Oh yeah, D'Onta Foreman. Yeah, I expect to see him utilized quite a bit. I do. And like I said, CMC, I would like to see him more as a receiver. Kind of similar to what, Amir Abdullah did. And what, and just really limiting McCaffrey's touches between the tackles. You know what I mean? I think McCaffrey as a decoy and also as a check down, sweeps, tosses, slot receiver. I think that's where McCaffrey can really help revitalize his career and actually make it through a season and not get hurt. Goal line situations, definitely got to dial up Foreman. And like I said, Foreman, he can run too. Like I said, he did a good job filling in for Derrick Henry. That's why I feel like our running back core definitely looks stronger with CMC, if he can stay healthy, D'Onta Foreman, and Chuba Hubbard. Who, remember, Chuba Hubbard has starting experience, filled in for C-Mac. So our running back core should be solid. Other than that, we'll have to see who may can break out of the practice squad. We also got John Lovett, Darius Blackwell, Spencer Brown still. Maybe one of them can break out and perhaps make the team. And wide receivers. I mean, DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson, Terrace Marshall, I feel like are a given. Rashad, Rashad Higgins? Yeah, Rashad Higgins. We have to see what he brings to the table. And, we'll have to see if there's another receiver that can break out. Like I said, I don't think Shi Smith will make it, being, the legal stuff he's going through. I think also, remember we got Brandon Zylstra has that experience and somebody who could turn into an offensive weapon. I mean, Brandon Zylstra has made some big catches before. So I'm really curious to see how the wide receivers pan out. And like I said, I hope to see DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson get their touchdown numbers back up. Van Dam says, I'm excited too. Yeah, there's plenty to be excited about. And like I said, on defense, J.C. Horn, I think J.C. Horn, folks like J.C. Horn, C.J. Henderson have potential to blow up. J.C. Horn has been putting in off-season work. It looks like he's healthy now. We've already seen what J.C. Horn has been able to do when he does play. And I think he's going to bust out and have a great sophomore year. J.C. Horn could be the next Chris Gamble. He could be the next Chris Gamble. Chris Gamble, one of the best cornerbacks this franchise has had. I mean, J.C. Horn's already known for being a shutdown corner. Dante Jackson, when he's healthy, he's done some damage. I think leading the attack on stopping the run, if the defense can cause offenses to be one-dimensional through stopping the run, I think the defense can sustain a passing attack. I think this team has a defense, has a squad that can sustain a passing attack. But they need to key in on stopping the run. First priority. If they can do that, this defense could be a top 10 defense and it be legit with as little holes as possible. Remains to be seen, but very possible. And just everybody staying healthy. Number one, that everybody's staying healthy. It's important. It's very important. But anyway, that'll do it for tonight. Thank y'all so much for coming by. Like I said, just recently got back in town. Glad to be back home. And just, a lot has been buzzing. Like I said, Carolina Panthers are at the bottom of the power rankings. And, it's just quarterback situation is still kind of weird. Nick Foles is off the table. Jadeveon Clowney, I was hoping we could get Jadeveon Clowney, but he's resigning with the Browns. So that's another weapon we have to deal with. Myles Garrett and Jadeveon Clowney, that first game, that's going to really, Vietnam says, I had high hopes for Shi Smith, but he wants to sell dope. SMH. Yeah, just all that. We've seen flashes of him, but yet throws it all away by dealing drugs. It's sad. But ladies and gentlemen, that first game is really, I feel like, is really going to set the tone and really say some things in a big way for how the direction of this team is going to go. Don't forget about Woods. That secondary can be special with a little D-line pressure. Oh yeah, newly acquired safety Xavier Woods. That's right. What I am curious about is, does that mean the two starting safeties will most likely be Jeremy Chin and Xavier Woods, and I guess Justin Burris, because they did bring back Justin Burris. I guess, could he be a backup? We know Miles Hartsfield has played some safety. Oh yeah, we also brought in Chris Westry at cornerback as well. So, I mean, this is a pretty deep secondary when you think about it. Vietnam, we got a pretty deep secondary. I mean, yeah, we had to let go of Troy Pride, unfortunately, but and then of course, Kalen Barnes, we picked up in the draft. So, I mean, I think we got a really deep secondary. The pass rush and linebacking core is what bothers me. Brandon Smith could come in and make some plays. The linebacking core, I definitely agree, is a concern. I think the pass rush will be fine. I think maybe getting another body on that interior D. The edges, I mean, we got good rotation on the edges. I mean, we picked up Amari Barno. We're bringing back Marquise Haynes, who has experience. YGM has the opportunity to break out. Phil Hoskins, Matt Ioannidis, if he can be healthy, Matt Ioannidis, who has 24 and a half career sacks, if he can be healthy, that's a big deal for us. Bravion Roy, hopefully Derek Brown can follow up and really contribute. I think the pass rush will be fine. I think the pass rush will be fine, but those are some legit concerns you have. So I can vouch. I can agree with you on that. Okay, Blitz, have a good night, bro, and thanks for all that you do. Thank you for all of your support as well, Vietnam, because without y'all, there is no me. Without y'all, there is no Carolina Panthers Talk. So y'all are just as much important as I am, because I can't do this without y'all. So thank y'all so much. But yeah, we'll see what's next, ladies and gentlemen. But let's not feed into what the media says too much. This is the Carolina Panthers' chance to prove the haters and doubters wrong. I mean, Universal Chicklets earlier, who's an Eagles fan. A lot of doubters, but stay focused. Stay positive as best as you can. I know it's not easy, but we have an opportunity to prove some folks wrong and show up and show out. It's not impossible. On any given season, the team least likely to do anything can end up making the biggest noise. And I'll just leave it at that. Keep pounding no matter what. This has been another Carolina Panthers live stream brought to you by Blitzball Champ Gaming here on the U to the 2. I want to thank y'all for coming through, chatting it up with me, contributing as y'all have always done since day one. I appreciate y'all, and I'm just so thankful for each and every one of y'all. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share the stream, and don't forget to hit that notification bell. And thank you so much for all the love and support and just taking the time to stop by, give a like, chat it up, give a view. I appreciate it all, because without y'all, there's no Blitzball Champ. So thank y'all so much. This is Blitzball Champ Jason Ingram signing off. I hope everybody has a blessed day tomorrow, and I will see y'all very soon. Stay safe. Keep pounding. Peace out. Love y'all.